advertisement was a physical thing, clipped from the back pages of a local thrift store gazette, seeking living companion for elderly relative. Generous monthly stipend, room and board included. Must have no family or strong local ties. Discretion required. For Maya, adrift and penniless after a cross-country move gone wrong, it was a lifeline. The Hemlock house was a Gothic monstrosity at the end of a choked private lane, all gables and stained glass. The elderly relative was Agnes Hemlock, a tiny, bird-boned woman swaddled in shawls, who spoke in a papery whisper and smelled of dust and lavender. Her nephew, Alistair, who had placed the ad, was a tall, severe man with cold, clinical hands and eyes that didn't seem to blink enough. "Your duties are simple," he intoned, leading her on a tour of the oppressive house. "You will ensure Aunt Agnes takes her meals. You will read to her in the evenings. You will never, under any circumstances, enter the West Wing. The doors are locked for a reason. The family's history is stored there. It is not for outsiders." Maya agreed. The stipend was too generous to refuse. The first week was dull but peaceful. Agnes was sweet, if distant, preferring silence to conversation. She would trace the patterns on the wallpaper with a frail finger, her lips moving soundlessly. Alistair came and went, like a ghost, often departing for days on vague business. The house, however, was never silent. It was a symphony of subtle noises, the sigh of settling wood, the skitter of what Maya assumed were mice in the walls, and a sound she could only describe as a soft, rhythmic snip-snip-snip that seemed to come from the walls themselves late at night. She mentioned it to Alistair upon his return. "The house is old," he said, his voice flat. "It has its rhythms. Pay it no mind." But Maya did mind. The sounds felt intentional, watchful. Her curiosity about the forbidden West Wing became an obsession. One afternoon, after ensuring Alistair was truly gone, she took the heavy ring of keys from his study. The third key turned in the rusted lock of the West Wing's main door. The corridor beyond was dark, smelling overwhelmingly of camphor and something coppery. It wasn't filled with old furniture or ledgers as she'd expected. It was a workshop. Long tables were cluttered with spools of thread in every color, gleaming surgical needles, and scraps of material. Some looked like leather, others like fabric, but all had a faint, disturbing pattern. And there were jars. Dozens of them, lining shelves. They were filled with a clear, yellowish fluid, and floating within them were things, a single, staring eye, a finger, perfectly preserved, a neatly folded ear. Her blood ran cold. She stumbled back, knocking a small, leather-bound book from a table. It fell open to a detailed, illustrated page. It was a diagram for constructing a humanoid form. A puppet made of skin, labeled the cousin. Notes filled the margins in a tight, precise script. Subject 12. Vitality, strong. But skin tone mismatch. Unacceptable. Harvesting for parts continues. This was the family history. A history of collection. A soft snip-snip sound came from the end of the hall. A door was ajar. Trembling, Maya crept forward and peered through the crack. Alistair was there. He wasn't away on business. He was bent over a figure lying on a slab. It was a man. Or something shaped like a man. Its form crude and unfinished, seams visible along its arms and neck. Alistair was humming, carefully, lovingly, stitching a new piece of skin a patch of freckled forearm onto the thing's torso. The snip-snip was the sound of his scissors trimming the thread. Maya choked back a scream and fled, locking the door behind her. She had to get out. Now. She ran to Agnes's room. The old woman was sitting by the window. "Agnes, we have to go!" Maya gasped, grabbing her thin arm. He's a monster. He's making people." Agnes turned her head slowly. There was no fear in her eyes, only a deep, ancient sadness. "Oh," My dear child, she whispered, you weren't supposed to see. You were doing so well. You were almost part of the family. What are you talking about? The family must be maintained, Agnes said, as if explaining something simple to a dullard. Bloodlines thin. They fail. We simply supplement. We find lonely people. People who won't be missed. We see if they fit. Alistair is so very talented with his needle. He just wants us to be whole again. Maya backed away, but the door swung open. Alistair stood there, holding his bone-handled shears. He didn't look angry. He looked intrigued. His eyes roamed over her face, her arms, with a tailor's appraising gaze. The skin tone is a near-perfect match for Mother's deteriorating left cheek, he murmured, more to himself than to her. And the eyes. Such a unique shade. We've been looking for a match for Grandfather's right eye for decades. Maya screamed and lunged for the window, but he was impossibly fast, a pinch at her neck, and the world dissolved into a chemical fog. She awoke in the West Wing, strapped to a cold table. She couldn't move her head, but from the corner of her eye, she could see them. Agnes, sitting in a corner, knitting with a strange, iridescent yarn, and Alistair, holding a scalpel that gleamed under the bright work lights. Please, Maya begged, her voice a raw thread. Don't. Hush now, Alistair said softly,
his voice almost kind.
There will be some discomfort, yes, but then you will become part of something eternal. You will never be lonely again. You will be part of our beautiful patchwork family. The first cut was not pain, but a cold, shocking line of fire across her thigh. She tried to scream, but only a weak gurgle emerged. Her eyes darted around the room, landing on the jar next to her table. It was empty, waiting.
As the world began to dim, the last thing she saw was Agnes smiling at her.
A warm, grandmotherly smile, as her nephew's scissors went snip, snip.